It's a phenomenal story of will and courage and some of the deepest, darkest parts of humanity all at the same time. And this is a story that is human as much as it is cultural and artistic. Violins are not only an instrument, they're an extension of the voice. That alone is compelling. Add it with this concept of the removal of the violin from the artist in such a horrific manner. And now we're talking about something bigger than just an instrument. We're talking about humanity and creativity and the silencing of that voice.
It's a different way of doing Holocaust education. And this talks about the instruments, and it talks about the music, and it talks about the lives that people had before the Holocaust. You know, we forget that they're not just numbers, they're people who lived, and many of them were musicians, and some of these violins belong to children, some belong to professional musicians, and each of them has a story to tell.
The stories that are in these instruments are absolutely heartrending and profound.
The one story that really sticks with me is the one from Lyon, France. That is about a person that was on a transport train to one of the camps, and he had his violin with him. And they were passing through the fields, and he heard some farmers out in the field talking, and he threw the violin out the window, and he yelled, "Where I'm going, I won't need a violin. Will somebody please save my violin so that it can live?" Had he taken it, it might have saved him, because there were many orchestras in the camps, and inmates played the violins while people were marched to their deaths in the gas chambers.
Some of these instruments, as you see, are not playable anymore, but the ability to reach out and connect and to literally, I think, create a language with the public is what made them what they are to begin with. And in this exhibition, they continue to do that. Even though when we walk in here, we do not have violin music playing. We do not have, it is a very kind of sedate, contemplative atmosphere purposely. You can almost hear there's an audible quality to the exhibition, even though there is no sound included.
I'm not a musician, but I know there's a very personal connection to your instrument, and this is what these had. We had an event here last week. We had an invitation-only event, and we had a couple violinists that grew up in Peoria. They're Jewish, and they played on one of these violins. And as Adam was playing, he commented about how the violin survived the Holocaust, and many Jews obviously didn't, but here we are, and we did. And he was overcome by emotion, because he was holding that violin, and he understood the history of that violin, and to him a violin is an integral part of who he is. But I think looking at this exhibit helps us all understand that connection and how these people kept their violins with them through the most horrible of times.
This is a very small exhibition. We're talking 11 small instruments on display, but the magnitude of the story is so deep and so dense that it is felt when you walk in here. That urgency needs to be felt by our public. This is something that if you're human, you need to see.
It's important for us to remember that the Holocaust didn't start with the gas chambers, that it started with words, and it started with marginalizing one group of people. It's very important in today's society, if we hear a group being marginalized, if we hear discrimination and prejudice and hatred, that's how it began, and that's what we need to speak out against. And we hope that this exhibit will educate people and inform people and make them understand that it didn't start with the gas chambers, it started with words and deeds.